Antoine out in North Carolina, no pronouns, talking about the fear of hell and how to get over it. Well, Antoine, you are calling the right place. What is up?
Hey, guys. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Of course you can hear me. All right. So I had a primary, I guess, major question that I've always wanted to deal with. And first of all, I am a huge fan of the show. All right. So I guess my thing is I always wanted to figure out trying to let go of my fear, fully let go of this. I've always had an issue with hell. Being a deconstructing Christian. What methods did you guys use? Because I never really hear you guys talk about how you guys got over your fear.
Yeah. I'll tell you to start off, and then I'll just say this one thing, and I'll let Thomas talk about his experience and stuff. But, one thing that has been undeniably one of the most helpful things for me, not specifically with this route, but with a lot of things in my life, is I found my secular therapist through the Secular Therapy Project, which is this amazing nonprofit organization, the affiliate to Recovering from Religion, which is another amazing nonprofit organization. And I will absolutely, every single day of my life, will tell people how great those two organizations are. So that in and of itself is a phenomenal jumping off point. Recovering from Religion, Secular Therapy Project, I promise you, you type that shit in anywhere, you are gonna find stuff. And I bet you there is an in-person peer support group somewhere close to you too. But Thomas, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, please, Antoine, go ahead.
Oh no, what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Because I live here in Charlotte, and they have the Charlotte Agnostic Atheist group, and I rarely get a chance to hang out with them because they usually work on Sundays, and they meet on Sunday mornings. But so a lot of the information that I've obtained from my deconstruction would be some of the stuff I learned from both Matt Dillahunty. I'm a black atheist, so we got to give him, Matt Dillahunty, and the name is M. Dilla. But I know one thing I've dealt with was, of course, hearing, how people, let go. They did this, they did that. Of course, my method was I wanted to be a preacher, and that didn't really pan out too well once I actually read the Bible cover to cover. What the hell? I'm pretty sure that happens to most people. They read it, get to the Old Testament, they don't know how the hell they get to the New Testament and finish and keep going. But it's just that once I learned that hell being a New Testament creation, that kind of stopped me dead on my tracks there. And then, of course, being a black man and then slavery, that's another issue right there.
Yeah. Could see why.
So of course I wanted to go. Yeah, of course I wanted to go through different methods to find out. Hey, how do these people let go? They let go. This man let go. That man let go. But everybody has a different method. So right. So of course you said the RFR and the Secular Therapist.
Secular Therapy Project. Both of those are great resources. But yeah, Thomas, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I would love to share just a couple things that helped me, Antoine, if you've got a minute.
I do.
The first is realizing just how many things there are in our life that are difficult to explain that people have attributed falsely to demons. That has helped me tremendously. So when I was in college, I was pulling a lot of all-nighters. I had horrible sleep patterns because I was just studying nonstop. And one time I woke up in the middle of the night and I was just paralyzed. I was frozen in my bed and I was awake, but I couldn't move and my muscles were locked down. And I felt just this fear, this crippling fear, like I was being possessed by a demon. And there was this pressure on my chest and it was darkness. And I was like, this has to be a demon. And at the time I was Christian. I was religious and I was praying and crying out to Jesus. I was like, Jesus, save me. And nothing's happening. It's not changing anything. And then after about a minute, it just kind of went away on its own. And I was like, what the hell was that? And then it happened again. And this wasn't happening at points in my life when I was sinning and dabbling in the occult and playing with Ouija boards or anything. I was doing as much Christian stuff as you possibly could be. And I had just had a point in my life where there was a deep revival and I was on fire for God. If any time in my life I should have been under God's protection, it was that moment. And I had this experience happen again.
Yeah.
It happened again as I was literally spending the night in this prayer and worship center. And like I'm laying there like on the couch. I like wake up and I like look up and I see this cross on the wall and my eyes are fixated on it. I'm like, Jesus, Jesus, help me. And it didn't work. And then I found out later I started learning about sleep paralysis. Is this something you're familiar with, Antoine?
Yeah, yes, very much.
Yeah, so I discovered sleep paralysis, which for any of our viewers who aren't familiar, it's when you go to sleep, your body naturally freezes your muscles so that you don't thrash in the night or roll out of bed and hurt yourself. It causes your muscles to freeze. Sometimes it goes wrong and people sleepwalk. Other times it goes wrong and you wake up, but only part of your brain is awake. So the emotional core of your brain is awake and alert, but the prefrontal cortex that's rational and reasoning, it's not quite there yet. And your muscles are frozen because GABA and glycine have been sent to them to keep them frozen. You're trying to move your muscles, and so there's this mismatch in terms of your sense of proprioception, like where your body is in space. It's off. It's not matching up with where your muscles actually are. And so you sometimes feel a sense of levitating off the bed or pressure on your chest. You have these hypnagogic hallucinations, and you start to see things in the room or hear things in the room. And it's things like this that throughout history have been misattributed to a hag, a vampire, a demon, some sort of witch or something. And it's when you go back to the Bible, there's other very natural things like epilepsy that they literally attribute to demons. And we know exactly what's happening in the brain. We know that there's just this misfiring of electrical activity in the brain that we can measure. We can even stimulate and cause. We can prevent with epileptic drugs from happening. And yet people in the Bible, it literally says they brought the epileptic to Jesus and he fell on the ground and had a seizure and was foaming at the mouth and like rolling around. We know what this is. And they're like, and they said the demon periodically seizes the boy and Jesus cast the demon out of him and he was at peace again. It's like, no, he probably just stopped having a seizure because most seizures don't last for more than a minute. And so if Jesus didn't know what a seizure was because he's some cult leader and the Bible didn't know how to attribute, how to understand these different things, now there's so many other stuff. I have a whole series on my channel right now that I'm doing on demon possession, exposing things that people mistake for possession and for demons and for exorcisms. And I'm showing that these are actually very normal, natural things that we experience. And so it might be something. What?
No, and I was going to say, and that's a good point that you bring up because, how people would actually use the Bible to try to, prove that there was a demon or the demon possessing you. And one way I usually retort with that is that, once again, the Bible is just a book of claims. Little small, short and simple about me. I'm a student pilot. Pilot. I need a God in the plane with me. Okay. So in pilots, we have a POH. A POH is the handbook that we use to operate the aircraft. Even that is still a book of claims. You still have to go out there and demonstrate that the plane is going to do exactly what the POH says. Well, I want the Bible to do the same thing. If the Bible says that God will reveal himself to those that call upon him. There's 80 plus scriptures in the Bible that show that God revealed himself. Okay, cool. Then God, I need you to reveal yourself. But if you're not going to do that, you come up with a way that I know is you. Make the hood of my car stop flopping and talking to me, and my dog start talking to me or something like that. But no, crickets.
Right. And I'll say this to get back, to the question about, the fear of hell and how to get over it. I'll put this out there for people because I always love to be, transparent and stuff. I was sitting over here as Thomas was talking and I was feeling like such a dick because I couldn't remember what the term exposure therapy was. So I'm like trying to type this and try to remember the term, but all I could type was like slow therapy getting more intense over time? ? And it was like, well, you're a dipshit, but you might be trying to get to exposure therapy. So I'm sure you're probably a little bit familiar with it, and I'll say,
I said no.
Okay, well, so it's a really cool concept. It's basically like, especially if people have, phobias or whatever, like, so somebody's hardcore super afraid of snakes, can't be around snakes, can't think about snakes. So the first thing we do is we put you all the way on the other side of a super large gymnasium with a snake in a locked cage and a wrangler all the way on the other side. And all you do is walk into the room and just stand there for 5 minutes, knowing that the snake is over there. Then the next time you do it, you get a little bit closer, you get a little bit close, so on and so forth. So you're doing it in this place where you are exposing yourself to these things that have these very traumatic experiences for you, right? That have given you these very intense feelings. Now,
how would you do that with hell, though?
Well, so hang on.
Play around with the Ouija board.
Just play around with the right. Well, so hang on. I'm getting there, okay? I'm making a connection, but I do just want to remind everybody out there, I am in no way, shape, or form a licensed therapist. I have no expertise or anything. That's why I said secular therapy project first. See, I was thinking. But
this is not medical advice.
This is not medical advice. No, it is not legal or financial advice. But
Hey, you guys are professionals. I'm not. Here's my call.
I have found that humor, that silliness, right, can be one of the most powerful tools that we have as people to deal with very difficult subjects. And I have found that you can do a kind of exposure therapy type of thing with this, where, the first time you make a joke about God striking you down with a lightning bolt, you cringe a little, you kind of look around and you're like, okay, wait a second, it's 5, 4, okay, whew. Yeah, he's good. Now I just do that shit all the time, Antoine. I don't give a fuck, God. Come on, hit us. Like, we got a building and everything. Nothing. It means nothing to me anymore because I exposed myself in safe places just a little bit more and more every time. And again, that's something that if you find a secular therapist through the Secular Therapy Project, or you just call in to the volunteer chat line, these people that have been trained and are there 24/7 to talk with you, or if you show up to one of these in-person, peer support groups in your area, a lot of what you're gonna experience is some stuff like that, where you have these really difficult concepts that are just like, man, I can't even fucking think about that without breaking down and crying. Mm-hmm. You're going to be in a safe space where there are people there to support you, where you can just start to nibble away a little bit at that. And I can tell you from my experience and every other person I have ever heard that has been deconstructing and have had these traumatic things still sticking with them, it definitely isn't a wake up tomorrow and it's all gone. It's a little bit by bit. And slowly, as you kind of go down that route, again, I'm telling you, Antoine, before too long, you'll be raising a middle finger up to the heavens with all of us. So,
and also, I think as you go through this, I would say there are too many people who they go to school or they go to university and then they stop and they're like, I'm done. My education's over. I'm now an educated person. It's like, no. It's just getting started. And if you take the time, let's say you really want to get over this fear and you want to understand, you want to know not just, hey, I'm comfortable with it, but I don't know, I could be wrong. You really want to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Christian faith is bullshit. Go out and learn more, study more, and go to actual text critical scholars like Bart Ehrman or like Dan McClellan, Data Over Dogman. Look at their stuff. Francesca Stravakopoulou's book, God and Anatomy, literally looks at all of the archaeological finds and the different descriptions of the other pantheons within the area of the world that the Bible sprang up out of. And it says, look, these came before. These gods are specifically mentioned in the Bible. This is how it evolved. It was pantheistic, and then it was polytheistic, and then it was monolateristic, and then eventually you get to monotheism. But there's all of these different steps that we can see how this religion evolved, how it changed over time, how it used to be different from how it is today, how it's literally we can see changes in the Bible between our oldest texts and the ones that we have today. And if that doesn't tell you that this is man-made, when you really, really, really dive deep into the history of it, and not by some Christian apologetic source or answers in Genesis, but by actual trained scholars, you look at stuff like that, and it's very, very hard to continue believing that this is the perfect, flawless work of God.
And it all just starts to become a lot sillier. It all gets a lot sillier, man.
Yeah.
So, But hopefully we answered something, Antoine. But here's the good news. If we fucking didn't, you can just call right back on in, and because we're here a lot. We're here a lot. So we appreciate you, man.
On Sundays, right?
That's right. Sundays at 4:30 p.m. Central for this, and 1 p.m. Central for the awesome show Talk Heathen. And then
show will go on.
Yeah, if you're just hanging out on a Friday at 7 p.m. Central, we also got a fucking show then called Truth Wanted. So you've got ample opportunity. And I've been told, I don't know, but I've been told that there is a mythical place called a Discord, an Atheist Community of Discord that one can find and go speak with people 24/7 because there are motherfuckers in there that just never sleep, apparently. So, but anyway, thank you so much, Anton.